Hey there, film fans! Welcome back to my channel. If you love movies and series as much as I do, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Enjoy the video. Hello and welcome to Summary. Today, I'm going to present you a film called Braun-Linsel Block 99. Spoiler alert! Take care of yourself and enjoy the movie. The film begins when Bradley tows a car to the garage where he works. It turns out that his boss is waiting for him in front of the workshop and wants to talk to him about something important. Seeing the unusual body language of his boss, he is curious to know what he is going to talk about. His guess is correct, because he is fired due to the economic crisis. Shortly after, he packs his bags and leaves the workshop. Upon arriving at his house, Bradley finds his wife, Lauren, on the phone, sitting in a parked car in front of his house. Bradley, suspecting that his wife was calling someone, immediately approaches and opens the car door. He tells her that he has just been fired from his job. While talking to his wife, he notices traces of red kiss on his neck. Jealous, he grabs his wife's cell phone and checks the last call. It turns out that his wife has just called another man. In anger, he tells his wife to go home. After that, he evades his anger by destroying his wife's car, by hitting the rearview mirror, and by forcefully removing the hood of the car. Bradley invites Lauren to have a head-to-head conversation inside the house and asks her how long she has been in a relationship. His wife then admits that she had a relationship with another man for 3 months. When Lauren had a miscarriage, she felt sad, and Bradley was taken by his work and did not have time for her. After expressing their respective feelings, Bradley invites his wife to start a new life, and Lauren agrees. After being fired from the repair shop, Bradley intends to work with a man named Gil, who is a drug dealer. Hearing this, his wife disagrees with his decision. However, Bradley is categorical. It is not easy for him to quickly find a job in the current difficult economic conditions. 8 months later, Bradley starts his drug dealer job. He delivers a package to a dealer in an apartment and drives home. His family's economy is starting to change. He can now live in luxury and move to a larger and more grandiose house. Lauren is pregnant again. As he is kissing his wife at home, Bradley suddenly receives a phone call from Gil asking him to come to his house. He then hurries to leave. Arrived there, Bradley is introduced to a new friend of Gil named Elizard. Elizard is a black-haired, fragile man and owns a large-scale drug network in Mexico. Elizard came with 2 of his men, Roman and Pedro. These 2 men have very strong and wide postures like bodyguards. Elizard informed that these 2 men would accompany Bradley when he was in service. However, the idea of Elizard is rejected by Bradley because one of Elizard's men, Roman, seems to be under the influence of the drug. Bradley thinks that if Roman accompanies him, it will not cause him any problems, and Chance defends his men and says that he has outsmarted Roman. Gil then convinces Bradley to accept this very important commercial task and promises to give him 3 months off at the birth of the baby. Finally, Bradley accepts the offer provided that he leads the mission and that Elizard's men comply. Both parties agree. Bradley and Elizard's men immediately carry out their drug trafficking mission. At night, they arrive at a jetty. Bradley and Elizard's men will start the task of recovering a package of drugs that was placed at the bottom of the sea. All 3 go up in a small yacht and take the sea. Arrived in the middle of the sea, the yacht stops. Pedro prepares to recover the package of drugs by diving into the ocean. Shortly after, Pedro finds a huge box, like a pirate treasure chest, tied by chains. He opens the chain lock with a piece of biche. As quickly as he could, he takes all the packages of drugs and swims to the surface of the sea. Bradley and Roman help him recover the package of drugs. After that, the yacht returns to the dock. Bradley suspects that the police will ambush them as they descend the yacht.
He therefore orders Roman and Pedro to throw the package of drugs into the sea.
Hearing this, Roman and Pedro reject Bradley's instructions and fight. To make a living, Bradley finally separates himself from Roman and Pedro. However, when they reach the parking lot of the jetty, the police encircle Roman and Pedro, and a gunfight ensues. Seeing the incident from afar, Bradley walks quickly to return to the yacht. Unfortunately, on the way, he meets a policeman who asked him for his help to help them. Bradley must think quickly to avoid being suspected, and he pretends to be a civilian helping the police. Then, he shoots Roman and Pedro. Pedro is shot in the gun, and Bradley is arrested by the police and immediately placed in detention. At the police station, Bradley is questioned by a detective. The detective learns that Bradley is a smart person who can deceive others. However, the police are not stupid. Finally, his trial takes place, and the court sentences him to 7 years in prison for murder and possession of illegal weapons. After being convicted, he is sent to prison in a prison bus. Upon arrival in prison, Bradley undergoes a physical examination. Then, the prison director asks all prisoners to release all objects in their bodies. Then, he undergoes a medical examination at the clinic. After that, he is escorted to his cell on the last floor by an old man named Lefty. When Bradley arrives in his cell, he meets a prison director named Andre. He explains to him the rules applicable to prisoners during their stay in prison. One of the rules is that all prisoners must go out and stand in front of their cells to be recorded when the bell rings. Night falls and the bell rings. Then the detainees immediately place themselves in front of their respective cells and are examined by the prison director. When all the detainees on the floor stand in front of their cells, Bradley is still sleeping deeply and the detainees wait for him to wake up. Shortly after, Bradley wakes up and is reprimanded by the prison director. He is asked to be more disciplined and obey the prison rules. During this time, at Bradley's residence, Lauren suddenly finds an intruder who has entered her home and shoots him with a paralyzing gun. Lauren faints and is taken by the kidnapper to a mysterious place. The next day, in prison, Bradley is invited to see the penitentiary staff in his office. The staff is called Denise, who tells him that an obstetrician wants to meet him. It turns out that the doctor was his wife's obstetrician. The doctor wanted to discuss the complications that Lauren had encountered during her pregnancy. Bradley meets Dr. Pellement the next day in the prison reception room. Dr. Pellement turns out to be the man with Elisard's hands who came to the prison to tell him that his boss had lost $3.2 million for his misappropriated drugs at the time. He then shows him a photo of Lauren sitting on a chair, eyes closed and hands tied. Dr. Pellement threatens to abort Lauren if Bradley does not comply with Elisard's wishes. Finally, they reach an agreement. Bradley is asked to redeem himself by killing a detainee named Christopher Bridge, sentenced to life. The prisoner is in another prison, namely in cell block 99. After finishing talking to his guest, Bradley is escorted by the prison director to his cell. Before entering his cell, he suddenly removes his shoes and hits Andre with them. A fight ensues. Bradley deliberately provoked a stir to be transferred to cell block 99 in Redleaf, where the prison area is a separate prison with maximum security. Bradley can easily beat Andre. However, some of Andre's colleagues came and managed to catch him. Bradley again attacks several prison guards on the way to the cell, and a fight ensues. Bradley does this because he believes that the problems he has encountered are not enough to be transferred to the Redleaf region. At the end of the fight, he is electrocuted by one of the prison guards, and he is transferred to the Redleaf prison. When Bradley arrives in Redleaf, he is welcomed by the director. The director warns him that the Redleaf prison is a maximum security prison where the possibility of being released is very low. After a physical examination, Bradley is escorted to cell number 59. Upon arriving in the cell, he is surprised to see that the state of the room is different from that of the previous prison. The cell is now dirty, dark, and smelly. The cell, which is tied to the open toilets and filled with excrement of former prisoners. He could not stand the smell and took off his shirt to cover his nose. After staying in his cell for a long time, Bradley is approached by officers who took him outside so that he could breathe fresh air for 60 minutes. When he arrives at the prison, he is approached by a young detainee named Derek. Bradley then asks Derek if he knows a prisoner named Christopher Bridge. Derek replies that he does not know the prisoner by that name. A little later, Bradley approaches several detainees who are exercising. Although Derek is forbidden from approaching the detainees, he still bothers them. The fights are inevitable. One by one, the prisoners fall. Shortly after, the prison guards pulled the seeds. Again, Bradley attacks the agents. Finally, he can be paralyzed and immediately taken to the area of the cell block 99, eyes closed. Arriving at the cell block 99, Bradley's bandage was removed, and he saw that the cell block 99 was very isolated and located underground. Before entering the cell, he was given an electrocution jacket. When he enters the cell, he sees a lot of broken glass scattered on the floor of the cell. During this time, Lauren looks very weak because she is held prisoner in a hidden place. Dr. Pellement is also in the place where Lauren is held prisoner with an abortion doctor. However, they have not yet performed an abortion on Lauren, but only made a preliminary examination. The scene returns to the prison. Bradley, who is mumbling in his cell, begins to shout the name of Christopher Bridge. The detainee with a serious accent next to him then replies that there is no detainee named Christopher Bridge. It does not take long for the prison guards to electrocute him until he boxes. Then the director told Bradley that several detainees wanted to see him. Bradley is taken to an underground to meet the detainees. It turns out that when he met the prisoners, one of them was Elisar. Bradley then learns that Dr. Pellement's request to kill Christopher Bridge was a ruse, so that Bradley could be transferred to the cell block 99 and that Elisar could torture him. Elisar angrily declares that he has lost $3.2 million. In addition, because of Bradley's actions, he was put in prison and his sister had to become a widow because he killed her husband, Pedro, during a shootout on the quay. Bradley is continuously tortured until he is weak. He is then shown a photo of his wife, Lorraine, who also acts soft and defenseless. After the torture, Bradley is dragged into his cell. Bradley returns to the detention cell where Elisar was and attacks his men. One by one, Elisar's men fall, and only Elisar remains in the cell. Bradley then strangles Elisar and asks him to send a message to Dr. Pellement to cancel his wife's abortion. He also asks them to take Lorraine to Gil's. Bradley's request is granted after he broke Elisar's leg. Arriving at Gil's residence, Lorraine immediately runs towards him. After that, Gil shoots Dr. Pellement and the abortion doctor with a long gun, eliminating them. In prison, after receiving the news that his wife survived by cell phone, Bradley then gives a last message and asks his wife to put the cell phone on her stomach so that the baby she was carrying could hear the message he was going to transmit. He hopes his baby will grow up in good health and that he will be smart. Bradley looks very sad because he knows he will never see his child again. After hanging up the phone, he returns to Elisar's cell and attacks him until his head falls. The prison director arrives and shoots a bullet in Bradley's head, eliminating him. If you liked the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to follow the Page Summary Movie Official at Facebook. And see you in the next summary. Bye.